What's going on, guys? It's Aperio, no life Pokemon player, and welcome to my journey of can I beat Pokemon Ultra Sun using only poison type moves. This might sound like a crazy challenge, and you are right, it definitely is, but I'm a crazy person as well, so let's do it. Before we can start with the challenge though, we have to determine the rules first. And the first and most important rule, of course, is I can only use poison type moves, and this goes for every kind of move, not just attacking moves. If it's not poison type, I can't use it. So the second rule, which is pretty basic for playthrough challenges, I can't use items in battle. Two exceptions though, I am allowing the Adrenaline Orb because it doesn't give me any advantages in battle against other trainers. And it just helps me with getting through and getting some Pokemon that I need through SOSing. Then we have to determine my definition of using, so using items and using moves that aren't poison type. So what I see is breaking the rules is when a power point or an item count goes down. So that will be, and the definition will be important for later on in the challenge. Then the final really definite rule is I cannot use Pokemon Refresh because it is broken as hell. It gives you increased crit ratio, you can dodge moves that you usually can't, and your Pokemon randomly survive on 1 HP, which is definitely broken, so I'm not using it. It definitely takes away quite a lot of the fun. And then two more things that aren't definite rules, but I am saying them in advance. I want to use XP share and the shift battle style as minimal as possible, because XP share in this generation is definitely broken. It makes you overleveled way too quickly, so I don't want to use it that much though. I expect I will definitely need to use it later on in the game. Same goes for shift battle style. I will try to play the game in set battle style as much as I can, but I expect I won't be able to beat the Steel type Elite 4 member of this region, Melemele, without using shift battle style if I don't want to get my Pokemon to level 100. So that's all there is for the rules, and let's jump right into the challenge. We start off the game by being woken up by our mom's annoying meow, then talking to her mom for a moment and then immediately going back to bed. But the same stupid meow wakes us up again, but he also gives us an awakening that will definitely be important later on this challenge. After this we head to Route 1 to get our starter Pokemon, where we choose Popplio, so How has Incineroar at the end, which has the best matchup against poison types. Almost immediately after this we have a battle with How, but as you might know, Popplio does not have any poison moves, so he literally cannot move. But this is where the awakening comes into play. If you use certain items when that item won't have any effect, for example using a potion at full health, it fails and you keep the item, so you technically don't use it with our definition of using. However, you do lose a turn by doing this. Although this might seem as a bad thing, this actually is good for us. By using our awakening on our Popplio that is definitely already awake, we can stall turns without moving or using an item, and because this is one of those first rival fights, it doesn't matter if you win or not, so we can just spam awakenings until How beats us and we can carry on with our adventure. After this we head to Iki Town to meet the Kahuna, who isn't there as you go to Mahalatro instead. We meet Liddy with her disobedient Nebby, so we need to rescue it from a couple Spearow, and unfortunately for us, one of them attacks us. Because we still don't have any poison type moves, the only thing we can do again is spam awakenings and let it kill us, but luckily we don't actually have to beat it. We can just carry it away with our awful trainer skills. In hindsight I probably could have just ran away and it would have worked the same, but hey, we got past it. After getting the Sparking Stone and talking to the Kahuna, we can finally go to the main part of Route 1 where Kahuna teaches us how to catch Pokemon. But you might know that it's currently dusk and this is a huge problem. Spinnerack can only be found at night, and at this point in the game, the in-game time is based on the point of the story you are in, and the time of the device you are playing on. So now we got to actually win a battle without using any moves, and how the heck are we gonna do that? Well, there is one way, PowerPoint stalling. By letting my opponent use up all their moves, they will be forced to struggle, which hurts them as well. This particular trainer has only one Bannier, which has a full moveset, but the only move that affects us is Pound with a total of 35 fire points. So that means we need to stall out a total of 40 attacks, including the 5 struggles that we need to tank as well. The first attempt was with only Poplio, so big fail, what did I expect. For the second attempt I got a full team of 6 by using all the 12 Pokeballs that I could get at this point, because I got 10 from Professor Kukui, 1 from my mom and 1 in the route. This time, and this also gave my Poplio a little bit experience, because in this gen catching Pokemon gives you experience, so now my Poplio is level 8. So with this level 8 Poplio and a full team, I try again, and I managed to stall a total of 32 power points, which is definitely a very big improvement, but we're not quite there. Even after restarting the entire game, this time choosing a Routed, which has the best defensive stats out of the starters, and then getting a team of 5 level 3 Grubbin with the best defense stats out of the Route 1 Pokemon, we can still only stall 31 pounds. So what do we do now? We can't beat an unavoidable trainer, we can't use any attacks, and we can't grind. Can we? By using the same strategy, stalling all the attacks of my opponent and making them struggle, I can actually get a little bit of experience by betting the weak Lediba that we can find here. Because the Lediba has only 20 attack and Bannier has a 65 base attack, we can actually stall out the Lediba and get a little experience every time we beat one. This is definitely a very hard grind and takes quite some time, but we can get some experience and that's all that matters. 5th attempt after multiple hours of slow grinding, and we finally win our first battle of the game. That took way too long. Luckily all the other trainers on this route are avoidable, so we can continue to the festival in Ikitown, where you have to battle Hao, who has 2 Pokemon. So obviously we lose big time. His Pichu already takes us down with powerful Thunder Shocks. But because Ultrasun can sometimes be a pushover of the game, we don't have to win this battle just like the first rival fight, so we can just continue with our journey. By completing the events at the Ikitown Festival, we are finally free from the time freeze, so we can go ahead and catch ourselves a couple of Spinarak. I decided to catch a total of 3. After this we can immediately go to the trainer school and catch Ula'Ula and Grimer there as well. I named my main Spinarak Hardy because he is toxic as hell in the anime and he has an Ariados, and my Grimer was called Rainbow because of a lot of Max color scheme. I only mentioned the nicknames of my 2 main Pokemon, because although I called multiple, those 2 will be the ones that stay on my team for a longer time. Currently our Spinarak only have Poison Sting, a weak 15 base power poison type move, and our Alone and Grimer only know Poison Gas. Because of this we have some trouble with the poison types in the trainer school like Ekans and Alone and Grimer, but nothing a couple levels can take care of. Now we can easily grind. After taking care of these battles, we head to Aoi City with again some battles that of course aren't easy due to this challenge, but no brick walls either, so from now on I only discuss the trials in grand trials. On the way to the first trial I also grabbed 2 Ekans because of the amazing ability Intimidate. And one of those Ekans I call Snack. Very creative, I know. At this point Ekans only know Poison Sting, but I will learn some better moves later on. Because I'm playing Ultra Sun, the first totem we have to face is the totem Gumshoes, unlike the totem Alone and Eradicate that would have to battle in Ultra Moon. It's annoying that it has a Lumberry that can cure its poison, but that's only once, so after using Poison Gas twice I can start chipping away on it. After that I lower its attack using Ekans' Intimidate ability and then slowly take it down with a bunch of weak Poison Stings and a Poison Chip damage. After that we travel back to Ikitown for a grand trial against the Kahuna of Melemele Island, Hala. On our way, my highest Grimer learns Acid Spray, a great early game move that lowers my opponent's special defense with 2 stages. Hala uses Fighting type Pokemon, a type that we resist with most of our Pokemon, but the type advantage alone wasn't enough. His Machop did big damage even after an Intimidate, and he could heal it up with a full heal and a Super Potion. When we managed to take him down, we were already down to a low HP Spinarak and my best Grimer against 2 of his Pokemon. Makuhita took down Spinarak, but it didn't hurt Grimer at all, because it only used Sand Attack over and over again, leaving us with very low accuracy when we finally beat him. After that, This Brawler easily took us down with a Z move and a power up punch. We need to grind because we can't beat him at this level. So after a small grind, I try again, this time with an actual strategy. I lead again with my Intimidate Ekans, but this time I immediately switch out into my Spinnerack for poisoning it and slowly chipping away. Then going back into Ekans for another Intimidate drop. We beat him up but took quite some damage in the process. After that we immediately poison his Makuhita with my lower Grimer and then again get an Intimidate off. Then we continue to chip away on him with some poison stings and the poison damage. Finally Brawler comes in and I switch turn 1 to again intimidate him with my low HP Ekans and bait the Z move, basically wasting it on a weak Pokemon. My second to last Pokemon, Spinnerack, did some good damage and poisoned it, giving the opportunity to Grimer to finish it off, giving us our first Grand Trial win and finishing up Melemele Island. After Melemele comes Akala, which has a total of 3 trials and 1 Grand Trial. On our way to the first trial, some of my Pokemon learned some decent moves. Ekans learned Acid, which is way stronger than Poison Sting and can benefit from the special defense drops by Acid Spray and Grimer. Speaking of which, now has Poison Fang with a 50-50 chance to badly poison my opponent, chipping them down even quicker. I also went back to Melemele to catch 6 Munchlax with guaranteed leftovers as health items for solid recovery, because health items are allowed. The first trial we gotta do here is the weather trial, and we got swept on our first 2 attempts. Rainbow's Totem Arachnid is pretty scary with a team like ours, even with our new moves. We don't need much grinding though, because both Spinnerack and Ekans evolve at level 22, so we get good upgrades with that. The third attempt, now we're newly evolved Pokemon, went way better. I started out with Grimer going for Poison Fang, badly poisoning the Totem Arachnid and putting it on a timer. After that I go for an Acid Spray to lower special defense and my Grimer goes down. My next Pokemon was Arbok, which was all I needed with its Acid, cleaning up after lower special defense. We've seen this in the next trial. I can find 3 more poison type Pokemon. Tentacle Marini with the unlocked Lepers and Fishing Rod, and Salinity on the Wella Volcano Park. Marini was a pain to get because you need to SOS chain a Corsola to find it, and because I can only use poison type moves, it's not that easy to get an SOS chain started, especially with Corsola knowing both refresh and recover, which can be really annoying while I was SOS chaining then. This is also the main reason that I allowed Adrenaline Orbs in this run. Salandit is also really annoying to get because I wanted 2 1 in 9 chance female Salandit to evolve into Celestial. Yes, I said 2, although I have enough unlocked Pokemon to get a full team of 6 different poison types. Celestial is a very important Pokemon for this run because of its ability, Corrosion. Corrosion allows the Pokemon to poison even poison or steel types, which makes Corrosion our only way to deal with steel types who are immune to poison type moves. Luckily we haven't encountered any of those yet at this point in the game, so we were fine until this point, and now we can actually deal with them. So if we encounter them, we're fine, though it's still not easy to deal with them. I also catch a Zubat in Diglett Cave that I already could have caught earlier in the Verdant Cavern, but the thing is Zubat learns his first poison type attack at level 25, and I didn't want to switch straight in level 6 Zubat or something up to that level, so I decided to wait for this moment to catch one at level 23 I think, which was way easier to grind up those last 2 levels to get Poison Fang. Now I've sorted out my team, I'm ready to take on the first trial. Although I lost the first time, the second time is always way easier because the first time you need to do multiple battles in a row, messing up your lead and your overall health points. Again, I just barely poisoned it, this time with Toxic on a Marini and this on a timer, so I pretty easily took care of the Totem Marowak. The SOS Celestial wasn't a huge deal as well, due to Smog and Salandit being able to poison it with the Corrosion ability. On our way to the Lost Jungle we also evolve our Zubat into Golbat, which will be great against the grass type that we will find there. The third and final totem Pokemon in this island is Lurantis, which most times proves to be a very difficult boss battle. Even in this run it was more difficult than I expected with the huge type advantage. Its Leaf Guard ability prevents it from being poisoned during the sun, which his SOS partner Castform sets up using Sunny Day. Another problem is the constant synthesis spam, healing up 75% of its total health in Sun, but in the end we managed to brute force our way through. Before I do the final big battle of this island, I stopped by at Koni City where I can buy a TM for Venoshock, a 65 base power type move that does double the damage when an opponent is poisoned. I also evolved my Golbat into Crowbat now could check his friendship in Koni City. The grand trial of Akala is a battle against a rock type specialist Olivia. I leave him with Marini and go for Toxic Spikes to badly poison any Pokemon that will switch in our side, and Marini goes down quickly afterwards. Next I badly poison her Anorith with my Poison Fang from my Grimer and then kill him with a couple of Venoshock from my Arbok and the poison damage. After this comes Lily, the other Gen 3 fossil who does take down Ariados but goes down easily to my Crowhead. Our final Pokemon Z-move user is Lycanroc, and just like the first grand trial, I switch into my low HP Arbok to intimidate him and bait the Z-move, after which I finish it off with a couple Astral Strike from Grimer and the poison from the earlier Toxic Spikes, wrapping up all the trials of Akala. Before we head to the third island though, there are two things I need to do first. First thing is that we can now get a reveal class from Professor Burnett in the Dimensional Research Lab, which we'll need for a certain late game Pokemon. The second thing we need to do is stop by at Aether Paradise, where we can get a preview of another late game Pokemon for our team, Neoligo. We get to battle it, but we don't need to win, it even runs away after a couple turns. After this we can continue our journey and head to Ula'Ula Island. We start our Ula'Ula adventure in Mali City, where we can catch our final member before the league, Trubbish. In preparation for the quote-unquote electric trial, I also focus on leveling up my Salandit to level 33 to evolve into Salazzle. This is because the electric trial Pokemon is not only electric type but also steel type, Sotogamaru. And not only that, but it calls for Skarmory, so the name steel type would definitely suit it better. The only way to handle this trial is corrosion, which is why I wanted to evolve my Salandit before this trial so badly. The first turn he got for Split Energy Shield, so he can freely get the Skarmory with SOS. After this first turn, well, second turn at this point, I Toxic the Togedemaru, and I take some damage, but I survived 2 hits, so I can next turn Toxic the Skarmory and then just stall it out. It does take some time, but I have enough Pokemon in the bag to stall him out until the poison kills him. I get that almost every trial has been just use Toxic on the total one and stall him out, but that's how it goes when you have only poison type moves. Next up is a Ghost Trial, but unfortunately I lost a lot of footage from this point in the game. The only footage I have left is from the Victory Road in Elite 4, which is definitely the best part, but still is a bummer, so I have to do with a couple of showdown replays in which I try to replicate the battles that I did. Well, talking about the Ghost Trial is against Mimikyu, so luckily he doesn't resist the poison type moves because, well, although Ghost type resists poison type, Fairy type is weak to it, so it's still neutral. What is annoying though is the Lump Barrier that it holds, so our first turn poison doesn't work. Well, it works, but it poisons him, but he gets healed immediately. After this though, we can just go for Toxic again and finish it off with a couple of Venomshocks. The next trial is the Grand Trial against Nanu, a Dark type user. Although Dark doesn't resist poison, 2 of his 3 Pokemon still do because of Save Life with the added Ghost type and Krokorok with the added Ground type. Save Life can just be Toxic and stalled out, and Krokorok can be handled with our Crobat. Because he only has 3 Pokemon, he isn't that hard to deal with because, well, we have a full team of 6 at this point, with all pretty good Pokemon. This is where the story gets interesting, because now we need to battle Lusamine. She has a total of 5 Pokemon, which is the most out of all the big battles until this point. She leads with the Clefable, which is Psychic, which is super effective against us, but we are super effective against her as well, so we can easily take care of her. The same goes for Lilligant, which is next, which is Grass typing and doesn't have the best moveset, so we can easily take care of that one as well. Next up are 3 Pokemon that don't have the type matchup against, but they don't either. First is Lopunny with a normal typing and some decent coverage moves, but Lopunny without Mega Stone is not good at all, so we can easily overpower it. Next up is Melodic, which we need to Toxic because Melodic is pretty tanky, so we don't want to deal with it. Toxic can pretty easily take care of it, but we lose some Pokemon in the process. Finally, we have to battle Beware with Zenhead, which is kind of annoying, but we have some Pokemon left, so we can easily overpower it. final island is Poni Island, where the first literal obstacle is a bunch of Team Skullgruns, the final ones of the game. After easily beating them, Plumeria shows up to give us a very important Poisonium Z, not only giving us the access to a strong Z move as a downpour, but also to Z Toxic, which now also boosts our defense stat by 1, which can be very helpful. The first actual obstacle of this island is the Dragon Trial against Totem Komodo, but we know the drill. Use Toxic, and stall that with Baleful Bunker and Toxapex, and finish it with a powerful Vanish Shock if needed. The second big battle here though is against Ultraviolet Crossma, a level 60 Pokemon with a 754 base stat total and a double Omni boost, which is a perfect recipe for outspeeding and OHKOing everything on my team. So we need to go with a cheesy strategy. I gave Arbok this Quick Claw, it activated on the second try and the belly poisoned it, after which I stalled out by switching into my Alone Mug with Dark type, giving it a spell and psychic immunity. Completing this event gives us the ability to cross the Ultra Space on Solgaleo or Lunala, which gives us the opportunity to catch 2 helpful Pokemon here. The first one is the Ultra Beast Nihiligo. This is my favorite Ultra Beast and it is insane special bulk, which will definitely be handy with all the stalling we need to do. The second one is Tornadus, and although it isn't a poison type, the rules only say something about only poison type moves, and it can learn Toxic, Sludge Wave and Sludge Bomb. While Akala though is its ability in Ethereum form that we can get using the Reveal Glass from earlier, Regenerator. It heals up a third of a Pokemon's total HP when switched out, which is really helpful when stalling opponents, and Tornadus also gives us some coverage for ground types. I don't put any of these Pokemon on my team right now because they are around 10 levels higher and there's still not a chance for now. The next trial is the Fairy Trial, but before we can battle the Totem Pokemon, we need to not only battle Mina, the trial captain, but also some old trial captains, although I'll only discuss Mina here. She leads with Mawile, part steel type, so I needed Salazzle's Corrosion for that. After I stall it out with, again, Baleful Bunker and Toxapex, while also setting up 1 layer of Toxic Spikes in the process, Grapple comes in. Now it gets easy because, well, Fairy of course is weak to poison, so we can pretty easily finish it off. Final Pokemon is Ribombee, and I can just use Salazzle to easily finish it with a Vanish Shock. Just like Mina's final Pokemon, the final trial Pokemon of the game is a Ribombee, but of course this one is harder than Mina's because of the Omni boost. So I go for Toxic turn 1, and you might notice that he does like 97% to my Toxapex. Well, that's because while replicating the battle I forgot to set on level for Ribombee, and the default level of Pokemon Showdown which I'm using for this is level 100. But I still managed to stall him out for enough turns, so I just left it as is because this is hilarious. Next up is the 4th and final grand trial against ground type specialist Hapu, and this battle was hard. It was that hard that I couldn't even beat it with my full team at level 55 because of the terrible matchup, so I replaced my Garbodor with Tornadus Therian. Because you most times start with Stealth Rock, I can start with a Toxic and a stall her out by switching between my ground and my flying Pokemon. Next is Gastrodon, which are Toxic, and again stall out by switching. This time between Toxapex, who resists muddy water and can use Baleful Bunker to stall out more turns, and Tornadus, who is immune to the Mud Bomb. Flygon's moveset only consists of 2 moves, being Earth Power and Dragon Breath, so I Toxic and stall it out with the same duo, this time needing to tank Dragon Breaths with Toxapex, but which unfortunately paralyzes my Toxapex, but it doesn't matter anyway. Our final Pokemon is Mudsteel, which I first Toxic with Tornadus, then get some good damage with it and finally finish it off with my Crobat. You can see why I needed Tornadus for this battle, but I immediately put Goroda back on the team after it. Now that we have defeated all the grand trials, it's finally time for the Elite Four. I go in reverse order so I can procrastinate on crying in front of Melemele as much as I can, so that means my first opponent is Kahidi, the flying type specialist of the Elite Four. She has a slight advantage with none of her Pokemon being affected by Toxic Spikes, but she still isn't one of the 4 or 5, whatever. She leads with Braviary against my Nihiligo, and although Acid Spray helps a bit, Braviary does more damage than I would like, so I switch into Toxapex and Vanish Shock takes Braviary down. The next is his counterpart, Melemele. I poison it using Baleful Bunker on his Braviary, and then do some good damage with my Vanish Shock. I get it pretty low, but Toxic Rex goes down. I try to finish her with Vanish Shock from Salazzle, but she uses the full restore, so I have to switch to Tornadus to take hits better and Toxic him again. I then switch into Arbok to lower her attacks, try stall it, but she again used the full restore quickly afterwards, so I needed to use Toxic again. In the end, we both die at the same turn. Next is Ula'Ula, which goes down into an acid downpour from a Salazzle, but then she switches in her Z-move user to Cannon and kills my Salazzle with Supersonic Sky Strike, the flying type Z-move. I Toxic him afterwards with my Alolan Muk, but thanks to your Screech and my gunshot missing, he takes me down with a Beak Blast. After this, Tornadus comes in and finishes it with help of the poison damage while it just lowered my defense. Our final Pokemon is a fire type Oricorio, which I first Toxic with Tornadus and then easily stalled out with my very specially bulky Neoligo. One down, 4 to go. Next is Ula'Ula, the Ghost type Elite 4 member, a little step up in difficulty compared to Kahili because almost all of her Pokemon resist poison, of which some even twice. We can use Toxic Spikes though, which I gladly do with my Toxic packs after using Toxic on our Bayonet. We unfortunately go down before being able to set up our second layer due to the Screech harshly lowering our defense, and before finishing us with Claw. I finished the Toxic Spikes with Neoligo and then switched to Alolan Muk, who managed to be Bayonet, although she did use a full restore. Next up is her Palossand, which I almost managed to stall with Tornadus, but again, she uses one of those annoying full restores. After I badly poisoning it again, I stall it out, this time by switching between Tornadus and Neoligo. Although our next Pokemon, Frostlass, confuses us with Confuse Ray, we managed to just barely finish it with first an Acid Spray, lowering a special defense and then firing off a powerful Venoshock. Because we came out of there pretty low, our Delmice kills Neoligo, but not before we use Acid Spray twice, making it very easy for Arbok to clean up. Our final Pokemon, Drifblim, couldn't do much to us, so we just beat it with Toxic, Acid Spray and Venoshock. Third is Olivia, definitely not an easy fight, because Rock resists poison and she even has a Steel type Pokemon, Probopass. She leaves with Armaldo, which doesn't do much against Toxic packs, so I start by poisoning it with Baneful Bunker against her Crush Claw, and then set up 2 layers of Toxic Spikes. I almost finished her Armaldo with Venoshock, but she switches it out for the oh so annoying Probopass. I switched to Arbok to sacrifice it, so when Salazzle could come in without any trouble. We exchange status conditions first turn. I Toxic her and she paralyzes me. After that, I did some switching. First, Earth Power would kill Salazzle, and I used Venom Drench a couple times with Neoligo to lower special attack, so I could bring in Salazzle again later on. I switched in on the turn and would die, predicting a full restore, but for some reason she didn't use one, and although she did some good damage, I survived the turn, unlike her. Next is Gigalith, and I do the very familiar stalling, but it not only finished off my Salazzle because it was fully paralyzed, it also got me by surprise by using Stone Edge and switch into some Tornadus, which goes down as well. I somehow take Lycanroc Continental Crush with Toxic packs, do some damage with Venoshock and get a double Baneful Bunker before I die. I protect a full restore with Toxic from Muk, and this time she does use one, after which I get to +6 defense with Acid Armor, successfully stalling him out. The Armaldo from the start comes back in, which quickly goes down, and then the final one comes in, Credilli. Because of the part poison and grass type, poison is neutral and I do good damage with Acid Downpour, and I finish it with one final Venoshock. Now it's finally time for Moline. Oh boy, the Steel type Elite 4 member. His first Pokemon is Klefki, which immediately paralyzed my Salazzle with Prankster's Thunder Wave, but I also stand away with Toxic. After stalling him for some time, he is low, but we are not that healthy either anymore, and he, surprise surprise, used the full restore, but I break it with the Toxic. I switch out to my Toxic pack to stall him out, this time without him using a full restore. Next comes in a Alolan Ducks Trio. For some reason I didn't decide to take off my Arbok, intimidating him in the process, but instead I decided to switch in a Tornadus and then switch in Salazzle, but I went out the combined damage from the spikes that Klefki set up earlier and that frees Iron Head. We definitely need a new strategy. And for the strategy I changed my team up a bit. First of all, Toxic Packs now has Venom Range instead of Toxic, because it can Toxic the Steel type, but it can Venom Drench the Steel types if Salazzle poisoned them first. And then Neoligo and Tornadus stay the same, where you can see they are all at least level 70. Then I added a second Salazzle to my team. This one holds a Citrus Berry and has plus defense to take some hits some better. Then the original Salazzle I leveled to 75, which might be overkill, but I leveled it to level 70, then used all my rare candies that I had, and I added an Espion to the team, which might seem really weird, but this is its only purpose is to stall out the Klefki, because I'm going back to my roots of this playthrough, and I'm going to struggle stall the opponent. After 2 hours of attempts, I got the following run. I start with Espion against this Klefki because of Espion's ability, Magic Bounce. It bounces back any set of moves our opponent throws at us. By switching between Espion and Toxapex, I can stall out his 10 flash cannons as his only attacking moves, while also bait him into using spikes twice while switching to Espion. So at the end our Espion is a little damaged, we have 2 layers of spikes up on our side, and Klefki is paralyzed because of the bounce back Thunder Wave and has no attacking moves left. Knowing that he would switch at this point, I counted the flash cannons so I could know when to switch into my weaker Salazzle while he switches into Bisharp and gets damaged a bit by the sparks from earlier. I of course toxic him and he basically wastes a turn by going for Metal Sound, lowering our special defense. To keep my Salazzle healthy, I switched into Toxapex to stall him out, up until the point that before he used the Forest Store again, but I switched the turn back into my Salazzle. My plan was to let the spike damage make it so he wouldn't be in red hell at the turn before he would die to poison, which worked, but for some reason he still used the full restore in his Bisharp, so I don't know what percentage he exactly uses those. I toxic him again, but this time he does some damage with Night Slash before I can switch out. I can stall a couple of turns, but this time on a turn he will faint, I switch to Tornadus. This might seem like a weird switch, but it is to manipulate what Melelemele was switching next. Alone the trio kinda destroys it, which is his go-to switch when Toxapex is out, so I want to prevent that. Having out Tornadus lures in his Magnezone, which is easier to deal with and of course takes some spike damage. Because Espion basically did his entire job at the start of the battle, I switch it in to sacrifice it for a free switch in for my next Pokemon, which is of course my weaker Salazzle again. I toxic his Magnezone and a berry survives Thunderbolt, which activates my Citrus Berry, healing me up a bit. To save it for later, I switch out my Salazzle for my specially bulky Neoligo, which tanks some hits due to the multiple Venom Drenches, lowering Magnezone's special attack. On a turn will die, I again switch to my weaker Salazzle, but Melelemele doesn't use a 4-star hero on life for the Bisharp for some reason. We do survive this resistant Flash Cannon though, so we have our Salazzle in for the next Pokemon, a Alolan Dugtrio. After he takes spikes damage, I toxic him, but he takes it down easily with an Earthquake that would even kill us from full health. I'll stall it out by using Baneful Bunker on Toxapex and switching into my Tornadus that doesn't get affected by his Earthquake, and he goes down after only 5 turns on Toxic. This is because of the normally he goes down after 6 turns on Toxic, but because of the spike damage he went down 1 turn earlier, and because Melelemele decided that this Pokemon wasn't worth it to use a Forester on either. His quote-unquote final Pokemon is Metagross, and because I don't want to take any unnecessary hits with Salazzle, because I want to go into it with full health, I let it kill my Tornadus first, before I go into my second and stronger Salazzle. This one has the Poisonium Z, with which I use Z Toxic, boosting my defense, which allows me to take Zen Headbutt better. Just in case he uses a full heal, I go for Toxic, but he doesn't use one, which gives him the opportunity to take us down. Although I only have Toxapex left, I managed to stall him out with Baneful Bunkers, only needing to take 1 Zen Headbutt. And this gives us the remember that Klefki from the start? And how it is out of the damaging moves? And how it is paralyzed? And how we can't hit it? Well, here is me wasting turns sped up, waiting for him to run out of power points so he can struggle and kill himself, which now finally for real gives us the victory over Melelemele. After quickly being the rest of the Elite Four, totally all one-shots, I definitely didn't lose to the living ones, I went on to do the final battle of this challenge against our rival. How? We've lost to him multiple times in this playthrough, but this time we are prepared. He leads with Alolan Raichu, his only Pokemon with a good matchup against me, and he immediately gets a special defense drop with Psychic on my Neoligo, while I set off Toxic Spikes twice, so he does some big damage in the process. I switch into Tornadus and Toxic him, but I again take quite some damage in the process. After doing that, I do some switching between my bulky Illegal and my healing Tornadoes to sell him out, and on his final turn I click Sludge Wave to finish him. However, he uses a full restore, but Sludge Wave still does around 80% with a critical hit, so my next Sludge Wave takes him down. Next is Abominable, so I switch into Toxapex. I stall a turn by using Baleful Bunker, then do good damage with Venom Shock, which crits because of Toxapex Merciless, moves always crit against poisoned opponents, and he goes down to poison damage. Third is Star Rose, which does some decent damage with Earthquake, but critical poison boost of Venom Shock is insanely strong, almost OHKOing it, and after stalling one extra turn, he would go down if he didn't use a full restore again. I switch into Tornadoes, who does decent damage with Sludge Wave, and although it does less than half of his HP, he takes recoil damage from Double Edge, so 2 Sludge Waves is all it takes. Next is Flareon, with basically the same situation as Tauros. Sludge Wave wouldn't have 2-hit KO'd him normally, but he went for Flare Blitz, causing him to take some recoil damage, so again, we only need 2 Sludge Waves. His 5th Pokemon is a Z-move user, Primarina. It takes a super effective Sludge Wave from Tornadoes surprisingly well, and he kills it in return with a Moonblast. I bring in my strongest Lazzle, and the powerful Venom Shock kills him and prevents him from killing us with its Z-move. His final Pokemon comes in, and it is Noivern, and we go for one final acid downpour with our ace Lazzle to finish off How, and with that, this challenge. So to answer the question of can I beat Pokemon Ultra Sun using only poison type moves, yes I can. Thank you all so much for watching. I had a blast making this, although it took quite a while, and there were some bumps in the road with editing and stuff, like you can see with the showdown replays that I had to add in. And to be honest, I'm not entirely satisfied with the end project, but hey, this is definitely also a learning experience for me. This was the first time making a video of this kind, and I'm definitely planning on making more of them in the future, although it could take a while before the next one is up. In the meantime, the MOA should be ready to be played, so from now on Wednesday I will be uploading that again, so you can look forward to that every Wednesday, and of course every Monday Reborn, every Friday hopefully PB, but the league is a bit slow, but hey, I have some cool replacement vids if the PB is stuck in a week again. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time, and of course, stay alive.